Base Carbon had their Q3 investor call yesterday. While the broader voluntary carbon markets have grown increasingly bearish, the management team of Base Carbon said quite bullish on their call. Once I lay out all the recent events that have transpired for the company over the last 6 months or so, I think you'll be able to see why they're so excited. So quickly, for those who don't know, Base Carbon is a carbon project financier, where they provide the capital a carbon developer needs to create a carbon project, which could be replanting a forest or handing out improved cook stoves that release less CO2 in impoverished parts of the world. Those are just two examples of many possibilities. In return for providing that capital that the project needs, Base Carbon gets most of the carbon offsets that project generates. Base Carbon has 3 projects in their portfolio. They have 2 cook stove projects in Vietnam and Rwanda, and their newest project is a reforestation project in India. Let's go over the updates on each one. And we'll start with Vietnam. That project's been developed with SIPCO, the project's developer, and the vast majority of the capital required for that project has already been paid. The project might generate an estimated 45 million offsets in total over 10 years. They've distributed 850,000 cook stoves and 364,000 water purifiers. As we know, they have an offtake agreement with Citigroup, where Citi is buying the first 7.4 million offsets generated by that project. And Citi is buying those offsets for a price of $5.75 USD. With the project already validated and verified and generating offsets, Base expects to receive offset issuances approximately every 6 months. They sold the first 1.1 million offsets into that offtake agreement for $6.4 million in revenue in Q2. Now, this alone sets them apart from essentially every company in the space, all their competitors, as most companies in the carbon markets are not generating revenues at all. But there's more. Base's project in Rwanda is closing in on validation and verification as well. That's another cookstove project being developed with Del Agua. All the capital payments needed for that project have already been made, so now we're just waiting for the project to be approved by Vera to start generating offsets. As Base noted in their Q3 call, they've already submitted their verification report and have been working through the commenting process, so the project is getting pretty close to offset production at this point. They expect Rwanda to be generating offsets by the end of the quarter or early Q1. The project is 250,000 cook stoves, so about 3.5 times lower than Vietnam's 850,000. So it's not unreasonable to expect the project to generate around 10 to 15 million offsets during its 10-year lifespan. But we'll see what the expectations are when the project is solidified. So we're getting close to 2 different projects that are cash flowing. Now let's talk about India. Base is also developing a reforestation project with Value Network Advisory Services, also known as V&V. Base is paying $13 million in total to plant 6.5 million trees, of which $3.6 million have already been paid so far. The difference between this ARR project and most others is that they've already planted 2 million of the trees, with another 4.5 million expected to be planted this year. 65% of that's already planted. So in contrast to most reforestation projects that can take 6 to 8 years to start generating any offsets, this project in India is expected to start producing offsets as early as Q1 2025. So while the project in India is far smaller than the other 2, only expected to generate around 80,000 offsets per year, but 1.6 million offsets in total over 20 years, the payment to cash flow timeline is shortened significantly, and that was why Base liked it so much. In addition, Base has wanted to start diversifying their portfolio, and this, starting with V&V, gets the company in the door to potentially work with them on other projects as well, which was something that the CEO of Base, Michael Costa, emphasized in their investor call. V&V is an experienced developer with 19 producing projects already and another 100 projects in multiple methodologies in various stages of development. So this is a partnership that could pay dividends in the future. Base is looking to increase their focus on adding more nature-based projects to their project portfolio. And keep in mind that they're also still working with the Danish Red Cross in Southeast Asia to particularly find blue carbon development opportunities. So things are looking good on the project front. On the call, they mentioned a topic I don't believe they've specifically mentioned before: their operations in Barbados. Base mentioned how they've been excited about expanding their operations in the region, and their subsidiary, Base Carbon Capital Partners, which is used to invest in the carbon projects, is located in Barbados as well. And that's interesting because Abex Technologies, the company that spun out Base Carbon, has operations there too. And in Abex's last corporate update, we got a glimpse into what they're working on in the Caribbean. Something that Abex has called Project Venice, which combines multiple technologies that they've been working on into an application that connects qualified participants in the carbon markets. Now, to what effect Base is connected to the whole project is unknown, but I doubt it's coincidence that both Abex and Base have operations there, especially when the project is tied to carbon markets. So this is just something to watch, and I'm sure we'll hear more about this in the years to come. As far as what we currently know for Base's growth prospects moving forward, the company has no need for dilution. This is something that the CEO really emphasized in the investor call. They're approaching profitability in 2024 with the verification and validation of Rwanda. They're already cash flow positive. They're continuing to buy back shares when it makes sense to do so. They already bought back 4.5 million shares in the first 3 quarters of the year using their NCIB. It certainly doesn't sound like they're worried about their cash reserves. But speaking of cash, let's look at their Q3 financial results a bit. Base has $4 million in cash and $142 million in total assets due to the $110 million attributable to project valuations. Now, much of that is expected cash flows from their Vietnam project. The cash flows are marked on the balance sheet as unrealized gains until those offsets are generated, and then they're marked off the balance sheet and realized as revenues. The company had a loss of $1.7 million in Q3, with $500,000 of that being a one-off consulting fee. So the cash burn of around $1.1 million per quarter is what we should expect. Basic shares outstanding are down to 118.5 million and continue to be bought back at the company's whim. Now, this is the benefit of their stock price being so depressed currently, and the VCM markets being so out of favor. They can really just keep plowing this cash into canceling out shares if the public market continues to undervalue them. They display this smack dab on their first slide in their investor presentation. We're currently trading at a 70% discount to NAV. Base is in a rare position in typical commodity markets. They'll be profitable next year in a position of financial strength while the industry is suffering. They accomplished that in just 18 months since the company was established. And this gives them the ability to pick up projects that are growing increasingly starved for capital. Base can lock in rates on more favorable economic terms because of this broader market outlook. The focus right now is to buy back more shares, exploring options to pick up new projects with joint ventures or other means, and looking into funding more nature-based removal projects, like the reforestation project in India. A recurring theme on the call was that while the carbon markets themselves are weak, the leaders in the next bull market are built in the previous bear market, and that's what we're working through right now. The industry is undergoing a moment of change, but when we finally get over that hurdle, and the closer we get to 2030, the more recognition Base Carbon should receive. I'm incredibly bullish on the company in the long term, although they will likely remain deeply undervalued for the short and possibly medium term as well. But that sums everything up, and thanks for watching.